Hello, geeks and gamers. Welcome to Geek Pulse Radio Prime. I am your host, Jeremy, and I'm joined here today by two amazing members of the Geeks and Gamers community. Joining us for the first time on GPR Prime is Tony Sin. He's the lead writer for geeksandgamers.com and soon to be breaking news, the panelist for our Star Wars podcast on Geek Pulse Radio. How you doing, Tony?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you guys doing? I'm glad to be here. Very excited.
Ready to talk some Star Wars with me?
Oh, yeah, just a little bit.
And you know her, you love her. You were introduced to her last week. The director of UK operations, the Patreon manager, the jack of all trades at Geeks and Gamers, Miss Caroline Precious. What's up, Caroline?
What's up, guys? And can I just say a big thank you to everyone who gave me their kind words about my PlayStation 2 breaking down in the community today. Honestly, I'm lost. I'm so lost.
That's awesome. So we are going to talk more Star Wars. And for the 5 people that continue to get aggravated about that, you can go ahead and turn the video off. You can turn the podcast off. We're going to talk Star Wars because that's what people want to hear. So I think this is an interesting topic because I think this is going to create some real discussion on the panel here today. But I think that there's a lot of speculation going on right now with whether you love The Last Jedi, whether you hate it, wherever you fall on it. I think you would have to acknowledge that there is a lot of backlash for The Last Jedi. And clearly Disney, prior to The Last Jedi releasing, announced that Rian Johnson is going to be heading up a all-new trilogy that he's going to be in charge of. And he will, I believe, directing the first film, and then he will be overseeing the other 2. But with all of the backlash on The Last Jedi, I think that it's a valid question to say, is Disney going to remove Rian Johnson from this trilogy? Now, I want to form it in a couple of different ways. Will they remove him? Should they remove him? And do we think that they're going to remove him? And so I'll go ahead and let Tony start this off. And Tony, before you kind of get into how you feel about the Rian Johnson situation, just give a brief summary of how you felt about The Last Jedi. Go for it.
Okay. Well, I've seen it twice now. I plan on trying to see it one more time before it leaves theaters, so I better hurry the hell up. But I'm really torn over the film. I really, really like it. And I have some issues with it, and it seems to be the more I think about the film, the less I like it. But it still doesn't stop me from loving the film. I absolutely love the film. I don't agree with everything. I didn't love everything, but I liked it. It's not my favorite Star Wars film of all time, but it was a good one.
And for just because I love hearing it, not that I agree with you, but what's your favorite Star Wars film?
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Prequel love. You hear that, mother effers? Prequel love. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay. So yeah. Should Ryan, or what was it? Will he be fired? Should he be fired? And do we think he will? Should he be fired? Absolutely not. The guy did his job. He went out there. He gave everybody a Star Wars film. At the end of the day, that was his job. Disney still made a boatload of cash with it. So should he be fired from a business standpoint? I don't think so. From a point of view such as, does Disney think that the fans want something else and they should get somebody else to go in a different line? I don't think so, because I think, his trilogy is going to be far enough removed to where it's not going to, unless they go into an era that people are already familiar with, kind of like a lot of big rumors are that it might involve like the Old Republic and stuff.
He actually shot that down, unfortunately.
Did he?
Yes, and that was disappointing. So
that is disappointing. Well, still anyways, I think it's going to be far enough removed that they won't have to worry about that kind of thing. I think they're definitely going to maybe reconsider, because they obviously at the end of the day, they want to keep making money. People still have to enjoy the product, and right. Clearly there's a group of people, regardless of how big or small they are, they're still very vocal, as we can see on, YouTube.
Yeah, I heard that. The videos I've been making have been getting a lot of traction lately. Yeah. So, yeah. And then let me toss it to Caroline, and then we'll jump back to you. What you got, Caroline?
So, should he be fired? I would say no. And you know, I don't like The Last Jedi, but maybe give the guy another chance because there was some really great epic moments within that movie. What is it? Will Disney fire him? Possibly. Do I think he should be fired? No. It's a very difficult situation because I was reading some comments that Rian Johnson made. I think it was just yesterday in an interview, and he basically said he didn't see nothing wrong with The Last Jedi, even though it's seen a lot of criticism. So it seems to me he's a director who's not admitting to the faults that were in the movie, and as we know, they are all there. So it's a difficult situation with Rian Johnson at the moment.
Well, I don't like The Last Jedi. I think everybody knows that's watching this. And I don't like Rian Johnson. I don't like how he acts on Twitter. I don't like how petty he comes off. I don't like how he responds to all the criticism as like he's basically confirming the criticism, but then he acts like there isn't any criticism. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like it. I don't like how he's carried himself. I don't know. I'm big into like, I don't know. I obviously I know Star Wars fans. I know generally people that are in the geek culture, they don't want to hear it, but I like sports. We cover sports here at Geeks and Gamers. The types of people I follow in sports are people like Nick Saban and Tom Brady. These people aren't getting on Twitter and Instagram and like defending their decisions or actions. Like they're basically like, F you, I do what I want, and if you don't like it, whatever. Like they don't care. And Rian Johnson is showing how insecure he is with the decision making he's made in the movie on Twitter, and it drives me crazy. I don't like it. But I do feel that this is a Zack Snyder DCEU situation. And like I said, I feel like, and we all know Man of Steel was a very divisive movie. There was a lot of people that swear by that movie, and I'm not going to ignore that. And then there are a lot of people that didn't like that movie. But the bottom line was it was divisive. And then you moved into Batman v Superman, which everything pointed to that movie being a massive success because it was the first time we've ever seen Batman and Superman on screen. And it wasn't, because the fandom had been affected so badly by Zack Snyder's decisions in Man of Steel, and I feel that is what we're dealing with now. Regardless if you love Last Jedi or not, the fandom has been affected so much that I think the enthusiasm is going to. It's almost like I don't like to use this as an analogy a lot because it's a touchy subject, but like it's almost like it's a cancer effect where it's eating the fandom from within now, and it's going to hurt enthusiasm. And so for that reason, I do think they need to remove him. I don't know if they will, and ultimately I don't think they will, but I think they should. But I want to toss it back to Tony, and not as the Last Jedi fan. I'm going to toss it back to the prequel lover, Tony, because that's the way I like to introduce him. But go ahead and tell me what you think about what I just said there.
I get what you're saying about his Twitter thing. And it's really different than like, George Lucas isn't going on Twitter and talking shit on people that hate the prequels and stuff. Right. And, JJ wasn't going on Twitter talking about, all the people that had issues with The Force Awakens. But I actually find it fucking hilarious. When was it? Me and Aaron and I were talking about the thing where he quoted the Jedi Path book and we tagged you in it.
Of course you did.
For a minute.
And I had to drop it's not even canon.
Well, see, I think with that, it was more along the lines of, this isn't something that he just pulled out of his ass. So regardless if that book is canon or not, he still drew upon that and took it.
Fair.
It came from somewhere tangible. It wasn't something that he just thought of, man, it'd be really cool if Luke did this. And then everybody's like staring at him like, what the hell are you talking about? That's not how the Force works.
That's a very valid point. I'll give you that one.
But I think it's funny, and I enjoy him being petty, like you said, because he is being petty. Mm-hmm. But again, at the same time, it does kind of show that maybe he is a bit insecure with it. But I think it's great because it shows that he's standing by his decisions almost. I don't think it's him showing that it's getting to him or anything. I think it's him saying, hey, in his own petty, smart-ass way, it's him saying, this is why I did this. There's facts to back this up. This is my train of thought. And though he may do it in a different way, he's still getting his point across. Regardless if you agree with it or anybody else agrees with it, that's where it came from.
That's a very valid point, and I'll give you that one. Caroline, what do you think?
Well, like I said, I was reading comments yesterday, and as Tony was saying, he did come across a little bit petty in those comments. It's like he didn't want to own up to people's criticisms of the movie, and everyone's going to have criticisms of this film. Not everyone liked The Force Awakens, but I know you, Jeremy, for one, really liked that film, and I really liked that film. Right. Force Awakens was great, but it's still got criticism. But like Tony said, I didn't see J.J. Abrams going on a bitch fest about people who give him criticisms about the movie. I do think it's kind of petty of him thinking about it, and I never even looked at it that way before, but now it's being said, yeah, it does come across a little petty.
Yeah, and the king of all movies, Christopher Nolan, he damn sure ain't on Twitter worrying about what some asshole in his basement hashtagged. Could you see Christopher Nolan being like, Look what this guy said about the end of Interstellar. Like, no, no way. Side note, but Christopher Nolan doesn't even own a cell phone. No bullshit. Like, he doesn't even own a cell phone.
Really?
Wow.
And he doesn't have an email. Like, that's how out of touch with like technology this dude is. So no, I would never see one. But that's another discussion for another day. Don't get me started on my Nolan love train, because then everybody will stop watching the video, including our boy Thomas Gilkey, who always gives me crap for how much I love Nolan. But yeah, I do think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because Disney, they want to make money. And that's the bottom line. And right now, with where Star Wars is heading, I don't like, just in my opinion, I don't like where it's heading, and I don't like the feeling I'm getting. If we're mapping out the future of Star Wars right now, I think everybody can say that the excitement for Episode 9 is much lower than it was prior to Episode 8 now. I don't think as many people are as excited for Episode 9 now. And the thing with Episode 9 is, you're heading towards Episode 9, and Disney wants Star Wars to be at an all-time high heading into that movie, because they're going to be opening Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World and at Disneyland. That's going to be a massive moment for them as a company, and they really want Star Wars to be firing on all cylinders. And I just don't think that keeping Rian Johnson for this new trilogy is going to be a good move for them from a business standpoint. It will be interesting to see. I'll still stand by it that I think they should fire him. I don't think they will at this point. And I know a lot of people in the comments from a lot of the videos that I've been making, a lot of people have been bringing Kathleen Kennedy up, and we don't have time to get into where we stand on Kathleen Kennedy at this point, but I think that's a good discussion for a future episode to talk about what the type of job she's done as the president of Lucasfilm. And I don't think you should. I mean, again, I had a lot of faith in her when she was announced because of her track record and everything. But I think Kathleen Kennedy is about as unfireable as a person there is in Hollywood right now. So I don't think anybody can. This woman she's got some friends in high places, so she ain't going nowhere. So all we can do is hope that they look at the criticisms and move forward from there. So anything you guys want to add on that topic before we move on?
I don't think so. I think we've all pretty much hit the nail on the head. I like you said, I don't think they're going to fire him.
And you don't think they should?
I don't think they should. I just think it's I think it's fair enough that his project is going to be far enough removed, or at least, from what we've been told. For all we know, things could change.
Right.
But it should be far enough removed that they're not going to be worried about it. And are these three films going to be like replacing the saga films that are coming out, or are these going to be acting like, the films that are going to be in between, the big tentpole Star Wars films, like the Star Wars story films are doing right now?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know and someone can correct us in the comments if I'm wrong. I don't think Disney has mapped out if they're going to do saga films immediately after Episode 9, or if they're going to take a break. I think they're probably waiting to see how Episode 9 performs before they were really willing to announce that. So, and if I'm not mistaken, Daisy Ridley's on record saying she's not going to be doing any more Star Wars films after Episode 9, at least for the foreseeable future, because she obviously wants to move on with her career and grow her own individual brand outside of Star Wars. So that'll be interesting to see. And then Caroline, you don't want them to fire him, and you don't think they will, correct?
Yeah, I think he deserves another shot, but you scared the bejeebus out of me when you brought up Zack Snyder, because is it another Zack Snyder situation? Like, now I'm scared.
Yes.
So I hope it's not, and I hope Jeremy's wrong. I don't think they'll fire Rian Johnson. I mean, at this point, he's acting kind of douchey, and I don't like douchebags, so it's kind of hard for me to say, like, yeah, I want him to stay there when he's not taking in people's criticism seriously about this movie.
Yeah, and really what it comes down to, and I've said this several times, and you can go back and watch our review, I actually ended up liking Justice League more so than I liked Batman v Superman or Man of Steel, but the problem was the damage was already done prior to Justice League, and that's where I'm getting at with Rian Johnson. Like, you know, we could end up with you know, maybe a good Episode 9 at this point, but I feel I'm a little nervous with where fandom's going to be setting by the time we get to that point, especially with Solo coming out now. And I just feel like that puts us in a bad place. Because even with Justice League being good, I don't think that the DCEU is in a good place because of the damage that was done prior to Justice League. And so that's the forward thinking I'm trying to project on this. So we'll see. I'm projecting, kind of like Luke projected.
Do you think, though, that maybe...
Ding, ding, ding. I know that was a terrible joke. All right, go ahead.
Do you think that maybe Star Wars as a brand is its head, because of its tenure, how long it's been around? And I know, Batman vs. Superman have been around since, way longer. But from a movie standpoint, and do you think Star Wars almost maybe immune to that kind of thing?
I don't think anything's immune to it, because we've seen things like this happen. Like, I mean, you can go back, and I know this isn't quite the same thing, but we can go back into video games. Like, go back to the old school Xbox days and imagine when Halo 1 and 2 were going on. Imagine thinking Halo would be irrelevant in just a few years. I couldn't have imagined that. Halo was a juggernaut. It was the biggest thing ever, and it took only a few bad decisions to destroy everything. Like, I still love all the Halo games post Halo 3, but the community just was – it took them no time to jump off. So, obviously, Star Wars has a lot bigger fan base and a lot longer standing. But, yeah, I think things can fall apart fairly quickly. I mean, you look at Batman. I mean, Batman has been around forever. Batman was never – bigger than he was when The Dark Knight came out, and then we went into The Dark Knight Rises, equally successful, made over $1 billion. The Arkham games were some of the best games ever made. The Batman comics with Scott Snyder were just off the chart. Batman was killing it in all different media, and then one misstep with Batman v Superman, and it's almost like now we don't even know when we're getting another Batman movie. It doesn't take a lot to knock even the king off of his throne. And it's going to take more than just one or two bad decisions with Star Wars. But if we get, like I said, you've got the Battlefront thing, and I love the Battlefront 2, but you can't argue with how Battlefront 2 has been perceived, and it's not good. And then you have The Last Jedi, not good overall. Now we're moving into Solo. Nobody cares about this movie. So these are three straight bad decisions right now in the overall context. And I just think that puts Star Wars in a bad position. Again, it's still going to make money. Episode 9's still going to make $1 billion, but it just feels like it's in a weird place for me.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
And this is a good segue. And that is, I do want to spend a few minutes and let's speculate on, will we get a Han Solo trailer for next week's Super Bowl? It's been rumored. This trailer's been rumored for the last 3 weeks now, every day. But I don't know of a bigger opportunity than to go ahead and release it during the Super Bowl, the most watched game of the year, television show of the year. So real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you guys think is the chances we're getting a Han Solo trailer for the Super Bowl? Tony?
10.
Think so? Oh, so you're that confident. Okay.
Yeah. I have my reasons, but I won't go into that right now in the sake of time.
Okay. All right. Caroline?
Yeah, I think that it's a very good possibility, and I think that they should take advantage of the fact the Super Bowl is like the most watched show worldwide. Why not show the trailer at that point? It would be perfect timing. Do I care about the trailer? No. Do I care about the movie? No.
But you do care about the Super Bowl, correct?
Oh, can't you tell? I'm wearing a Sami Zayn t-shirt, and if you guys don't know who Sami Zayn is, then that just makes me sad.
No, we all we know who Sami Zayn is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with an 8. I think there's a good possibility we get it. But I also feel like they're almost embarrassed to show anything from this movie. They won't show us anything. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's a weird situation. Like,
it really is.
I mean, obviously they've put a buttload of money into it. Like, and you know, like you say, you know, nobody cares about this film, but there are a large amount of people that do. And it's Star Wars. It sells itself. So regardless if the movie's good or if it's the worst piece of shit we've ever seen, it's still going to make a lot of money.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
they need, and it's just asinine that we have not seen it. I think the only thing we've seen is that little picture with Lando, Han, and whoever Amelia Clark's characters is. That was like, it's like going to be on the front of toy boxes or something.
Yeah, and
That's
that wasn't
the
even
only thing we've
official.
seen.
And that wasn't even officially released from what I heard. Because I posted that to our Instagram page, and a lot of people finally was like, no, that's not official. That's just artwork. And so I was like, wow.
So that's bad. That's bad. Like, we haven't seen anything. And that plays into, you know, how they feel about it. And obviously they're not confident. And I mean, I get it. I get why they wanted to kind of stall it because, you know, Last Jedi just came out. So I get why they wanted to stall that. But I don't think there's any damn excuse. So we got a trailer for Rogue One, you know, in April, and it came out in December. I think that's also a part of it too. The fact that they're sticking to that May release date. If they would have waited and pushed it back to December, I think we'll be seeing something about in April, because we saw something in April for Rogue One and then it came out in December. But now it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's, man, I'm fascinated with this movie. I think someone asked me a few weeks ago on a Q&A what my most anticipated movie of 2018 was, and I was like, it's kind of Han Solo, because I'm so fascinated to watch this train wreck just play out. Like, I don't know what we're getting. I'm going to go see it because it's Star Wars, and I am interested to see what they do with it, but I have no real high expectations for the movie itself, but I'm so excited because all the problems with the changing directors and what we heard was going on prior to Ron Howard coming on, and now the fact that they won't show us anything, it's wild. So this is crazy. It's really crazy. So
what are you more excited for? I need to know this right now, so I need to know if we can still be friends or not. But Han Solo or Infinity War?
Infinity War.
Okay, good. We can still be friends. That's good.
Yeah. And if you go back, I think that was in our Patreon group. I think Thomas asked me, outside of Infinity War and Black Panther, what was my most anticipated movie of 2018? And I was drawing a lot of blanks. I'm like, I can't even think of anything outside of those two. But obviously Han Solo is right there, just because of the fascinating, you know, thing that it's presenting.
The mystery behind the movie.
Yeah. So that's it's gonna be. I hope we get it. I want to see some footage of this movie. So we will find out in the Super Bowl a week from. Well, we're recording this on Saturday. This probably won't be uploaded until Monday. But so in about 5 or 6 days, I guess, from when you're watching this. And go
Hopefully.
Patriots. Go Patriots. All right. So I think Caroline has some questions from our Patreon group that she took earlier. So Caroline, if you want to go ahead and pull those questions up. And Tony and I don't even know what the questions are, and that's going to make it a lot better. Yeah,
it's going to be very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So
I'll let you go ahead and fire away.
Yeah. And as well, who I don't know what the Patriots are either. I'm guessing the football team, right?
New England Patriots. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Half the people watching this video are like the people that, like, I think on the gaming podcast, Aaron said it. Because they had John Morgan from our Sports Force podcast on the gaming podcast, and they kind of started out talking about sports just a little bit. And Aaron Morris said, well, he said, for the for the geeks that tune in every week, they probably already turned this off because we talk too much sports. So, so Geeks and Gamers, we cover sports here at geeksandgamers.com. You're going to have to deal with it. I apologize. Send all hate mail to me, Jeremy at geeksandgamers.com. Go.
Okay, so the first question is from Cassie Penley Ingram. What is your top bucket list item?
Item or just experience or?
Well, what is your top bucket list item? That's how it's worded.
I'd imagine it can mean experience too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to think about that one for a minute. Tony, do you have an answer?
I want to meet Stan Lee. That's always been my big thing. Stanley or George Lucas. I want to meet them too. Like if I do those, if I walked into a Comic-Con or something and met George Lucas or Stan Lee, I could walk outside and get hit by a bus and die happy.
That's awesome. I'm going to give a multi-answer because it truly is a multi-answer. And for anyone that doesn't know, spoilers for all of our new subscribers that have joined because of all of my hate for The Last Jedi. I'm actually a massive Disney fan, and specifically Disney parks. I love Walt Disney World and I love Disneyland out in California. So part of my part of my bucket list before I die, I want to experience all the Disney parks from around the world for at least once. That's something that's crucial to me. And there's several, and that's going to be an expensive situation. And also I want to take a Disney cruise. So that's on my bucket list. So I know you thought I hated Disney, and I just don't like The Last Jedi, and I just don't like social justice warrior politics in my movies, but I love Disney. So sorry to disappoint all of our new subscribers. All right, Caroline, what's on yours?
Mine is to go visit the States because I've always wanted to go to America ever since I was a kid, and I knew that's where wrestling was. I'd like to go to like a WrestleMania. That would be really cool. But I'd like to come meet you guys, go to Pensacola. I've got a friend called Jennifer, who I've been talking to since I was 12, and we met in a WWE chat room way back in the day.
Wow. Chat room, that's something you don't hear a lot of anymore.
Right, exactly. And we bonded over Triple H and DX. So I would absolutely love to go to Chicago, go see her, get some pizza, because I heard that's really good there, and go to Pensacola.
Nice. Well, I think that, if Geeks and Gamers continues to grow, I think that that's definitely going to happen sooner than later. So maybe.
Oh, and I'm going to get this on record right now. Jeremy has already promised me a trip to Disney. Expenses on him.
Disney World is where you have to go.
Wildland.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah. Big difference. But maybe you'll be covering a WrestleMania for geeksandgamers.com. Let's hope.
Don't tease.
And we're also, to play off of what you said, we're also considering having a wrestling podcast. So if anyone is into professional wrestling and you're interested in a podcast, drop in the comments below and let me know, because Caroline's pushing me hard for this one. So we'll see what happens. All right. What's the next question?
Favorite video game of all time, and that is from Jordan DiCarlo Lopez.
One of our Patreon supporters. Well, obviously it's from the Patreon group, duh. So I'm going to have to answer this in two different ways. My single, I think this is the greatest game I've ever played is Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 with episode 1 and 2, hands down the greatest game I've ever played. My favorite game will always be any version of Mario Kart. Any version of Mario Kart. When I die and I am gone to be judged before the Almighty or whoever, they're going to look at me and go, "You wasted so much of your life playing Mario Kart. You are a disgrace. Get out of my face." Because I have done nothing. Since Mario Kart came out in 1992 for the Super Nintendo, that's all I've done. I love Mario Kart. I will play it until my fingers can't move anymore. So that's my answer. Tony?
Jeremy likes Mario Kart. In other news, grass is green. My favorite of all time, it's kind of 3 in 1 because I consider it one experience. The Mass Effect series, the way they're all tied together, your decisions in 1 and 2 affect what happens in 3, and so on and so forth. So I consider one experience the Mass Effect trilogy. We're not counting Andromeda in here, even though I do really like that game. Everybody else likes it, but Mass Effect is my favorite video game of all time.
Okay. Caroline?
I have 3, and I'm going to list them in the date they released, because some of them are old. So Tetris,
Nice.
Jeremy called me the other night, and I just said, like, "Oh God," he's like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I've just finished a really intense game of Tetris."
And I was like, what year is it? You know.
So Tetris, Super Mario Brothers 3, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Nice.
Those
I'm
are my
digging.
three.
I'm digging the Mario 3 drop right there. That's such a great game. Such a great game. So
Our next question comes from Miguel. Oh, Christina's not here to do the R's.
para.
That didn't sound as good as last week.
No,
Miss
not at all.
Christina.
Not even
Okay.
close.
So he asks, favorite comic book from DC, Marvel, and Dark Horse.
So growing up, I read a lot of Uncanny X-Men. I read a lot of Batman, Superman. I don't think I read any Dark Horse. I did read Image Comics though. So
Dark Horse had a lot of the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, I never read any of the Star Wars comics.
Okay.
So I'm going to replace Dark Horse with Image. And so Wolverine number 50, and that was the one where Wolverine's claws, it was a yellow cover, and it had 3 slices across the cover. And that was the greatest comic book ever for me because I'm like, well, growing up, I was like, Wolverine actually cut that. I have to have that one. I was fascinated with the Nightfall series growing up. So the one where Bane broke Batman's back. So I think it was Nightfall 497 is when it actually happened. Or Nightfall 11, it was issue 497. And then Image, it was all about Shadowhawk. I loved Shadowhawk. So you can pick, and I don't even know what happened to Shadowhawk. And I am not the biggest comic aficionado by any means. But growing up, those were the ones that I still have all of those comics that I just mentioned. So Tony?
For Marvel, not really one issue per se, but the run of Superior Spider-Man. It's all about how Dr. Octopus and Peter Parker's bodies get switched, and Dr. Octopus is the new Spider-Man inside of Peter Parker's body. It's so awesome, and it's really underrated, and it was a really good series. I love it to death. As for DC, I was never really a big DC fan aside from, as far as comics, aside from Batman, because Batman's my favorite superhero of all time. But I'm going to go with the Dark Knight Returns series. And Dark Horse, I really liked this was like the last thing Dark Horse did before the rights were reverted back to Marvel. But it's the Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir comic series.
Good old Dathomir. I was watching the Clone Wars. I'm not going to get any spoilers, but
well, it's cool because that series is actually a canned Star Wars storyline or Clone Wars storyline.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I may have to get some pointers and see if there's any of those old school Star Wars comics that you think I would enjoy, because I'd love to. But yeah, I've never read any Star Wars comics. So
yeah, man, I'll hook you up.
Okay, Caroline.
When I was growing up, I touched on this last week, I think. We didn't have comic book stores near us, so that was really sad for me. But graphic novels are huge, and what I like to do is collect the ones where it's big story arcs. So my favorite one is Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I actually prefer the series to the movie.
Okay.
I agree.
It's absolutely brilliant. And I'm currently reading Planet Hulk or World War Hulk. Which one came first? I can't remember.
Planet Hulk.
Planet
Hulk. Reading Planet Hulk at the moment, and I just finished Infinity Gauntlet the other day.
Nice.
That was amazing. Let's see what else we got on here. Favorite animal psychic from any franchise? That's from Rachel Pendley.
Oh man. Ooh, that's a good question. I'd have to think about that one.
Does Chewie count?
Is your dog present? Because you don't want her to hear this. I don't want her to get upset or anything.
Yeah, my little puppy, she's feeling sick today, so she's asleep in the living room.
Okay.
So, there's only one that jumps out in my head right now. And yeah, Chewie's a great choice, but Rocket Raccoon, man, like Rocket's just amazing. So I'm gonna reserve the right to maybe change that one because I'd have to think about it more. Because I could even go back to Homeward Bound and just include Chance from the Disney movie, because that's one of the objectively a great movie. I don't care what anybody says. Homeward Bound is amazing. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Rocket Raccoon. Tony, did you say Chewie?
I think I'm gonna go with Chewie. If we're not gonna be able to count Chewie, oh man, then
it's a good question. It really is. We know Rachel.
I'm still gonna keep the Star Wars and be Salacious Crumb.
Okay, all right.
Jabba's little lizard monkey.
Yeah. Probably wasn't very.
Holy shit, that was so terrifying.
That's gonna haunt me tonight.
What about you, Miss Caroline?
Does Yoshi count?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
He's a dinosaur. He's an animal.
Yoshi's
You
amazing.
guys want to hear my Yoshi impression?
Let's do it.
Yoshi.
That's actually really good. That's really
I
good.
can't really hear myself very well because I've got headphones on.
That's actually really good. That's actually really good. I'm impressed. Is that all the questions we had this week?
There's a couple more. Do we have time?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, okay. Thomas Gilkey asks, worst film of all time?
I mean, that's a couple ways you can look at that. Like, I always say expectations are what creates your hatred for a movie, not necessarily because the movie's the worst movie of all time, but just the expectations. And so I hate to do it, but
stop it.
No, I'm not. It's not gonna be The Last Jedi.
Okay.
No. I don't hate that movie that bad. But man, I'm gonna have to say, like, it's, again, I'm not saying this is the worst movie of all time. Okay, I'm just saying based on the expectations I had going into it, Man of Steel is the worst movie for me because it disappointed me so bad, and there was so much potential and so much money spent for that movie, and the marketing. You go back and watch those trailers, they're still some of the best trailers ever made for a movie. So when you take how much I love Superman, how much the marketing was phenomenal. I had belief in Zack Snyder at that point. Christopher Nolan was all over the marketing as the producer, and he actually helped greenlight the whole project. And the insane budget and the trailers were just the best ever. And I ended up just hating that movie. So not the worst movie ever by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely my most disappointing movie. If you want me to say, like, what's the worst movie ever, probably like Jack and Jill from Adam Sandler. And I love Adam Sandler, but that's a terrible movie. So what you got, Tony?
Everything in my gut, like as soon as I heard worst movie, made me want to say Batman vs Superman. Because again, like you said, expectations.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, I absolutely loved Man of Steel because I am not a fan of Superman.
And this is the common thing for people that defend that movie, is because it was made by somebody who clearly hates Superman, and that's why he made the movie. But no, seriously, that is a common thing. Like, people that didn't like Superman, they ended up saying, "Oh, I never liked Superman until I saw Man of Steel." Well, that's congratulations, because Superman's not in that movie. But anyway, don't get me started.
But yeah, so the expectations after loving Man of Steel, and especially when I didn't expect to, I just kind of went and saw the movie on like a whim. After that, and oh man, now I'm going to finally see Batman and then see Superman fight each other. Yeah, little I know they were going to fight for like 3 minutes. But Batman still kicked the shit out of him though, so I'll take that.
True.
Is it the worst movie ever? No. But like what you said, with the expectations and everything, that's probably going to be my pick.
Okay. Caroline, what you got?
Have you gentlemen ever heard of a movie called Troll Hunter?
Yeah.
Is that the one that's on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
I love that movie.
Oh, just when I thought our friendship would continue.
That's the one that's kind of like the poachers and everything. Like they're
It's
going after.
awful.
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay. Well, you would have been one of these two friends of mine. I had two friends, and I'm not going to shame them by saying their names, but their names are Sammy and Aaron. And I was around their place for a weekend. They said, "Oh, let's watch Troll Hunter. It's great." And they kept going, "Troll!" Like, just walking down the street, and one of them would Troll randomly. I had no idea what they were doing. We watched this movie. I was so freaking bored. I don't think I've been that bored watching a movie. I thought it was terrible. The only good thing about that night was the company and the Chinese food, but definitely not the movie.
I love that movie. I really do. I think they do a great job of capturing the atmosphere. There's a lot of tension. And I know it's got a lot of shaky cam in it. It's kind of got like a Blair Witch Project deal going on there. Me and Caroline might have to do a whole episode on just debating on the greatness of Troll Hunter.
Let's throw in Spider-Man while we're at it.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've heard of it, but never seen it.
Watch it.
Is it a live action thing?
Don't do it.
It's live
I'll
action.
be so bored. Don't do that to him. Jeremy, don't do that to him.
Look, and it's all in subtitles, so you have to read it. Because what is it? Does it take place in Norway or something like that, Caroline?
I don't know. It's a big part of crap, and I didn't like it.
If it's subtitles, then I'll probably.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
You saved yourself some time, Tony. Congratulations.
What else we got?
Thomas Gilkey, favorite comic series. I think he means comic book series.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched back on, like I said, I only read comics growing up for a few years, and the big
maybe he means TV rather than actual.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I think he means. Favorite comic book TV show.
Oh, okay. In that case, Punisher, season 1 of the Punisher. And it's not even close. It was Daredevil seasons 1 and 2 before that, but Bernthal's Punisher just took it to another level. And nothing else to talk about for me. Tony?
I like the Punisher a lot. Not as much as you. Not that I had issues with it. It was just I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why I didn't like it as much as you, but I mean I loved it. Don't get me wrong.
All right.
But it's still.
I do have an admitted man crush on John Bernthal. It's okay. So I mean,
You go.
I'm thinking it's the cartoons count, or is it only live action?
Yeah, let's do cartoons. Whatever you like, Tony.
Okay, well I'll do one of each. For live action, I'm going to say Jessica Jones.
Boo! I know both of you are going to kill me. I know. Both of you love it, so.
And that was hard. That was hard to list between either Jessica Jones or Luke Cage because I like both of them better than Daredevil and Punisher. So, don't fire me. But as far as cartoon, it's definitely going to be Batman the Animated Series.
Good choice.
Okay, for me, it's actually the Punisher as well. I thought that was like the most well-adapted comic book series that I've personally seen. My second favorite one is Daredevil, then Jessica Jones, and I'm just gonna list everything right now. So we've got the Punisher, then we've got Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Have I got them all? I've got them all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got them all. How do you not like Jessica Jones? Jesus.
Which season of Daredevil do you like more, first or second?
They're both up there with the same as me. I like them both as much as each other.
I as a whole, I like the first season of Daredevil more, but because of Bernthal's Punisher, I give the edge to 2 because the highs of season 2 are a little bit higher than season 1, but season 1's more consistent for me.
Yeah, so. I like season 1 better as a whole. Punisher is the only thing that kind of like puts it up there because I could give a rat's ass about the whole hand shit.
Yeah.
It was just not well done, I don't think. And then with it continuing into Iron Fist, which I actually liked, but not as much as other people, or not, I don't hate as much as other people, I should say. And then it continued on to the Defenders. I'm just kind of over it. So, but season 1 is better, but the Punisher shit made season 2 what it was.
Yeah, I agree. What else we got? Is that it, Caroline?
I didn't throw the Defenders in there, so I'm going to put the Defenders.
Oh, yeah. I was very disappointed with the Defenders.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I didn't hate it. I expected a lot more from all of those characters being on screen together. And you know what the problem was Danny Rand was the central figure, and that's the problem because he's terrible.
But he's the immortal Iron Fist.
Oh, Kunlun, Defender of Kunlun. In case I haven't said it 12 times. Shut up, Danny. Shut up.
Poor Danny Rand.
What else we got?
We've got one more question, but it's directly aimed at myself, and it's from Wesley Campbell, and he says, "Do Easterners, I'm guessing that's me, we just usually call ourselves English or British, like American football, and do they have or will they ever have a league?" American football is actually quite big over here now. There's a big following for it. They do play some NFL games over here, and yeah, there's actually a big following. I remember I was going through London on the tubes once, just to sound really British of me, and there was an NFL game on, and people were traveling. There was people like face paint on and all the jerseys, and it was like, did I just step through a vortex that landed me in the States? Red buses, I'm still in London. Okay. But yeah, it's big over here. I don't know if they have any leagues over here, but what you guys called soccer obviously is like the biggest sport in this country and pretty much everywhere in Europe. So.
Okay, interesting. I didn't realize that it was picking up. I mean, I knew there were some games over there, but I didn't realize it was picking up some actual tangible steam over there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd be very surprised. I was like, really was, and I think they have 2 or 4 NFL games over here every year now.
Okay,
that's cool.
Well, that's it for all of our questions from our Patreon group. So thank you guys for that. And if you are not a Patreon supporter for geeksandgamers.com, feel free to join our Patreon group. If you are a supporter, it's go to patreon.com/geeksandgamers and become a patron for just as little as $1 a month. But we won't get mad at you if you want to give us more. Nobody will be upset. But then you will be brought into our exclusive Patreon supporters perks, and you'll be able to come into our exclusive Patreon supporter group on Facebook where we have a lot of fun, and Tony Singh gets naked sometimes. And,
he'll holler for $1.
He will holler for $1. That was so funny. But to give context, so Tony was doing a live Q&A in our Patreon supporters group, and someone asked him, I guess, about a tattoo. Is that what it was? Tattoos. So somebody asked him about a tattoo. So he kind of stood up and lifted his shirt and was showing, his tattoos. And once the video was over, Facebook decided to use the thumbnail as Tony literally just pulling his entire shirt up and showing his whole body. And so we used that to tell people, like, hey, if you join the Patreon group, you get to see Tony shake it for $1. So anyway, so before we go, want to see if you guys want to do any shout outs. So Caroline, do you have any shout outs before we?
Yeah. Shout out to our Patreons, all of them, especially Thomas Gilkey and Miguel. You guys are all, yeah. I should do it every time like a cue. I'm just saying Miguel and do that, and one of you can say.
I need to see if our editors can just edit in Christina doing it from last week.
That would be good. Next time I say his name, I'll just like lip read it. Like,
yeah.
And we can put Christina in there. That will work fine. And if you guys want to follow me, I'm at Kaz the Geek on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Tony?
First and foremost, I want to thank you guys, for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk about Star Wars.
No problem.
Again, yeah. Absolutely shout out to our Patreon supporters, Thomas, Miguel, and everybody else that's, helping us out. Shout outs to the community as a whole, shout outs to everybody on the team that, behind the scenes makes Geeks and Gamers work, because, it's it wouldn't be as fun of a place to work and do things if everybody wasn't cool. Shout outs to, like we announced at the beginning of the show, the upcoming Star Wars podcast, which doesn't have a name yet, but it's happening. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I think that's about it. And you can find me on Twitter at Tonyson_GG, Instagram at Twan Center, and that's about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I thank you both for joining us this week for another great episode of GPR Prime. And I thank everyone that has listened, downloaded the show, or watched us on YouTube. And if you have any suggestions or ideas for us in the future for what you'd like to see, let me know, and we will definitely take that into strong consideration. Shout out to, again, our Patreon supporters, Mr. Thomas Gilkey himself, our MVP of Geeks and Gamers fans. He's just amazing, and he continues to set an incredible standard, and we are humbled every day by his support and all of our Patreon supporters' support. So for Caroline, for Tony, my name is Jeremy. Thank you guys for joining this week of GPR Prime. Have a great day. We will see you next week.